Well, they tell me we're the last man standing so far, so that's a good thing. I did stay up and watch the end of Alabama and Auburn because, like anything else, at some level, I'm a college basketball fan. And so when Auburn went down, we started getting the pictures of the map. San Diego State was the entire map, so it was pretty cool. But at the end of the day, it just puts a bigger target on our back. It really does nothing other than make us a national story. But all the work lies ahead. We have to get ready for a very good Nevada team. Someone says today, is it hard to keep a young team focused? And I said, that's the good news. I don't have a young team. I have an old team. And so these guys go to work every day. They know what the grind is. And we will prepare like crazy to play Nevada in which should be a really good game tomorrow here in Viejas.
Coach, how different is the Nevada team with Steve Alford as coach compared to Musselman last year?
Well, it's fun to have been in the league for as long as I have because I can remember Steve and Noodles being at New Mexico. Now they're both at Nevada, and they run a lot of the same stuff. If you're a shooter and you want to shoot, they know how to find shots for you. And right now, Jazz Johnson is running along that baseline or off screens like all the players, great ones at New Mexico did. And Steve knows how to get scores, good shots. He's got a very good three-point shooting team, and that's my number one concern, that we find a way to contest those threes, because we all know college basketball, if they all of a sudden step up and make 12, 14, 15 threes, it's going to be a long day tomorrow.
Coach, could you walk us through what you saw last night at that Auburn game? When did you start tuning in? What'd you see?
I'm watching all the games. I'm a channel flipper when I'm not watching tape on Nevada. I'm watching Creighton play against Georgetown. I'm watching Minnesota and Penn State. And then I'm flipping to Auburn and Alabama. So the way to get away from basketball for me is to watch a little basketball. So I watched it as a fan last night, and I just saw that it's, like I've said all year, it's hard to win a college basketball road game. So Auburn lost at Alabama last night. And Bruce Pearls woke up today and realizes he has to go to Florida on Saturday, and that will be hard. And so I always say it's a fragile formula, winning and losing, the separation between those two is so very small that if we want to continue to win, we have to stay on the very top of our game. We can't have a mediocre performance, and if we do, we'll be punished for it, just like any college basketball team.
Coach, being such a fan, what rank do you think you should be?
I don't pay attention to the rankings a whole lot. Like I've said in the past, it's great for the fans and for national exposure for our program. But I heard a coach say yesterday, those numbers next to your name don't mean anything until March. So it's good now and the national recognition, and it's good for, if we continue to play well, seeding down the road. But all it does is put a bigger target on your back.
I'm sure you wish for peace between all coaches and programs, but at the same time, was it hard not to root for the Crimson team when you were watching?
I don't have a rooting interest a lot of times. Maybe in the conference, if we're fighting somebody for first place or I feel like they're a threat to us, I might have a thought on that. But just as a general fan, I try not to get caught up into rooting for one team or another. So I was happy for Nate Oates that they won the game, and I know Bruce is a very good coach, and he'll get his team ready for the next one.
Coach, could you expand on just talking about how difficult it is to win on the road in college basketball?
Yeah, it's environments, whether the building's full or the building's empty. It's altitude. It's everybody has good players, and Wyoming is no better example. I mean, they had UNLV basically built. They missed a couple free throws. They had Nevada in a one-possession game late, and Wyoming hasn't won a game in the conference. Yet they could have won their last two, and that's what a fine line it is. And so when you go into anybody's building, they're all college basketball players, they're all on scholarship, and they're all talented. And so sometimes you catch a team that's maybe a little too young to win, maybe a team that had a few injuries, maybe a team on an off shooting night, and you just are grateful when you escape with a victory in someone else's place.
Coach, does playing Saturday, Nevada again, kind of bring back memories of those battles you guys had the past couple years, whether it was in the tournament, regular season? Does it kind of bring back those memories?
Yeah, I've said this with our team. They don't talk much about what our last year's teams have done or last year's games because we're a different team. You know, 3 starters weren't even on the floor last year. And so they don't get caught up in what Nevada was last year, because they're a different team with Musselman now at Arkansas, Alford coaching, the way they do things, the things they run, their organization is so different. And so the same thing with us. I think if you watched our team last year, we're a completely different team, how we do things, how we run things, and that's, like any coach, that's all personnel-based. So we're playing to our strengths this year, just as Nevada is, just as any coach does with their team. And so I think it's, you know, they pay me to be concerned about every opponent. You know, I hear people talking about, well, they're going to win these next 7, and then they're going to maybe have a chance to lose that one. I'm worried about Nevada. That's all I'm worried about, because the fans don't get to watch them on tape and see how dangerous they are at certain things. And if they happen to get hot from 3, they shoot threes like, if you're there, it really doesn't matter. They're like Deshaun Taylor from Fresno last year. We were all over him, yet he has a capability of making shots. And that's kind of the way Jazz Johnson is tomorrow. You know, he had 8 threes against Boise a couple games ago, and they were all over him. So those are the things I worry about rather than 2 or 3 games down the road. I'm so focused on Nevada and what we can do to disrupt their rhythm, because I know they're a good team.
Do you ever worry about, you want to be confident, obviously, but you're not just going to show up and win a game. Is overconfidence ever, when you're coaching kids like this, a problem? Or
I haven't seen it yet, which is the good news. You know, you think if you were going to see it, you'd have seen it already with some of the victories we've had. You know, and that's the beauty of this group. They just go to work every day. They know how to follow a game plan, you know, and complicated game plans. You know, sometimes you have to keep things simple based on who's on the floor if they're young. And this team, you can put something complex in. You can play the same ball screen 2 different ways depending on what guard is coming off that ball screen. And that's really hard to do. Usually you say, this is how we're going to guard all ball screens. But this team has an ability to say, when this guard comes off a screen, we're going to jump out and hedge him and push him back. When this guard comes off a screen, we're going to drop back on it. And that's like chemistry in basketball. That's like playing the same action, depending on who the 2 players involved in it, are a different way. And I've never really had that with a team that I've been a part of.
Just out of interest, had you promised any recruits the number 15 yet? And did you have to take anything back?
No. I don't think, you know, we're not retiring the number. We're hanging the jersey. But if you want 15, you better be a pretty darn good player to put that number on. So,
How did it make you feel hearing about that?
I'm excited for Kawhi, you know, and be the first one to have your number hung in the rafters here at Viejas is a heck of an honor and well-deserved. And, you know, sometimes I think people get caught up in, like, they're hanging it because what he's done in the NBA. I mean, we're hanging it because what he's done at San Diego State. To come in and hang 2 banners here, to take us to our first Sweet 16, and to be the ultimate team player, to be selfless. That's why the jersey's going up. And because of what he did here and because of what he did at Riverside North High School, now he's doing it in the NBA for the Clippers. And so he's just the consummate winner, doesn't care about numbers, doesn't care about things. And so it's an honor to put his number up here in Viejas.
When's the last time you communicated with them? What'd you say?
I probably haven't seen Kawhi since this summer. You know, I don't think Kawhi communicates with a lot of people. So, but we'll be excited to all see him here on that day.
Hey Dutch, when did you first become aware of the map, and did you imagine that it would be all yours?
You know, my wife is kind of graphic, and so I don't know if my sister sent it to her, and there were 5 or 6 or 7 teams on it, and it was kind of cool. And then as we started eliminating teams, you know, the map became popular in the Dutcher house, you know. Graphically colored schemes, red and black on the whole map and half of the country. And so it was kind of fun to watch. So I know the fans get a kick out of it. And I saw someone posted one, we're on the map in the universe now. We cover the moon and Mercury and Mars and Jupiter at San Diego State on all of them. So you can make the map say whatever you want. So it's kind of cool right now, and it's a great conversation to have and fun to have.
What kind of relationship do you have with Steve Alford? Going back, I mean, you actually might be the 2 most veteran teams in this the 2 most veteran coaches in this conference right now.
Yeah, I really like Steve, you know, and I remember when he got hired at UCLA, I was speaking at the Wooden Luncheon and told him how lucky they were to have Steve Alford, that I said anytime we did a game prep. When he was in New Mexico, basically all we had to do was look at how New Mexico guarded something, and inevitably we guarded it the same way. So I know they're well coached, and I told UCLA when they hired him, you're getting a really, really good coach. Well, we know how hard it is to survive for any coach at UCLA. So now that he's Nevada, I know we're going to see a well-coached team that is prepped for us, that is going to know what we're doing, what they want to take away, and they're going to execute at the offensive end. So it's great for the Mountain West to have Steve Alford back in the conference.
You surprised he signed a 10-year contract? And this is a guy who's been in power conference schools before. And then, I mean, the contract with the buyout it has is such that, you know, it looks like he's going to be there for a while.
Yeah, I got to get his agent's number, 10-year contract. Holy smokes. No, they knew they wanted Steve bad, and so they knew they had to offer him what terms he wanted to get him there, and it's going to be a good hire in the long term for him. I mean, he's got a record of winning no matter where he's been, and so I think it's a great hire for Nevada and a great hire for the conference on whole.
What does it say about the conference when a coach of his esteem wants to be in the conference for that long?
I think it's a good thing. I think he knows the conference. He knows the lay of the land. He knows how travel is in this conference. And he brought back Noodles Neal, his assistant from New Mexico, who took over for him, obviously, when he left. And those two together have proven to be very formidable, not only coaching on the floor, but recruiting. And so that's good for the conference. That's what we need. We need as many programs that are winning games so that when we get to this part of the season, we can build resumes against each other. You know, where we don't have a team where all of a sudden every game you lose, you drop 40 spots in the net. So the more good coaches and good teams we have, the better it is for all of us.
Coach, what are your thoughts on the net ranking? Because basically the wins at Utah, BYU were classified as a tier 1 win, but with them losing recently, that actually affects your net rankings. What are your thoughts on that, where you kind of depend on these teams to win for you guys net ranking to stay up? Or
Yeah, it's net rankings are challenging, and all we can take care of is our next opponent. You know, we can't control how the other teams play and don't play. So obviously you want them to win if it helps your standing. But that's the one thing I know I can't control, whether they win or lose. You know, and it's like, and seasons are different. Like Iowa had Bohannon when they played us, and then he shut it down for the year. So even though they're winning, they're a different team, and players get eligible at semester, and then they're better. We played BYU without Yoli Childs. Now he's playing. So sometimes the net ranking, you know, it doesn't account for who's playing, who's not playing at what time of the year, and it can go up and down in a hurry. I see him talking about, someone said maybe 11 teams from the Big Ten getting into the NCAA tournament. And they just beat up on each other every day. But at the end of the day, because so many are so high in the net, they never lose that much ground either way.
Hey, Dutch, when Flynn decided to transfer, were you aware of the things he could do? Did you imagine that he would be playing at this level for you guys?
Yeah, well, when David Velasquez and I went in to see him, as soon as we heard he was going, we flew to Pullman to see him. We brought tape, and we were going to show him how we were going to use him, you know, how we thought he could play, fit our system. And we were going to, you know, talk to him about how he could be a better passer maybe in our system, how we could make him a better passer. And then we put the clips up and saw, damn, he's a pretty good passer already. So then we said, wow, we really got to get him. So we thought of him more of a scorer, but the more tape you watched on him, you realized all the things he could do. So, and then you just add maturity and another year of basketball and just growth. And that's the trajectory he was already on at Washington State. So he just stayed on that trajectory. He's a hard worker, and we knew we were getting a very good player.
Hey, Coach, you guys are now 18-0, second best start in program history. What do you attribute this success to?
Talent, a lot of good players that are all pulling in the same direction, a good coaching staff. You know, I surround myself with good coaches that know how to get them better, and it's not just when we're on the court working as 12 or 15 men on the court at one time. It's in the gym, in the mornings, away from me, you know, where Coach Acker or Dave or Jay Morris will take a player in there and build their individual skills, and then we fit all those individual skills into a team format. And so I got a hard-working team that puts the hours in, and so they're getting rewarded for that.
And the last time you guys started this, because you guys went to the Sweet 16, obviously, how do you measure success for you moving forward here? Is it winning the conference? Is it getting to the Sweet 16?
We want to hang a banner. We want to win a conference title. So that's what our goal is. So we want to be successful in the Mountain West, and if we do that, then everything else will fall in place. So we're trying not to stumble, and if we do, not have a prolonged stumble. You know, you look at some of these other teams in the net. Virginia was, I think, number one at one time. They've lost 3 straight games. Ohio State was number 1 in the net. They were 1-4 in the Big Ten. So that's how fragile it is. So we're going in to try to win every game. But if we stumble, we're going to try not to make sure it's a prolonged one.
Have you thought about it? I mean, obviously, there's being undefeated for the whole season, but no one's gone undefeated in the Mountain West. You've been in this league every year of its existence. How are you starting to think about that, and how hard is that to do?
I think 11 games ago, I'm not thinking that. I mean, if all of a sudden we end up in a great position where we're undefeated with 4 or 5 to go, then you'll think about it. But with 11 to go, all you're thinking about is the next game. That's so far in advance to try to think what could happen. You know, what if I get a guy turn an ankle like I've had, or I get another team gets, like most teams do, you get better, you get worse. And all of a sudden we're playing a team that's made a tremendous leap over the last 2 or 3 weeks, and we see them in their, even though their record's not as good as ours, maybe they're playing better than us at that time. So that's college basketball. So we got to just continue to try to get better every day. That's what I've always said about this program. We're better at the end of the year than we are at the start. So if we hold true to that, we should be a better team in a week or 2.
Why is no one better than the Mountain West? There's been some really good teams in this conference.
Yeah, you think of some of the Majerus Utah teams, you know, that went to Final Fours. You know, they're darn good. And it's just hard. Maybe it's the travel in this league. You know, this is a hard travel league. And not many people in this conference get to charter places. So the travel's harder. It's commercial. It's buses. It's harder to get places on quick turnarounds. And so this is a hard travel league. And everybody says, what is the hardest conference? And the answer is whatever conference you're in. So we think the Mountain West is the hardest conference because that's the conference we're in.
Coach, just out of curiosity, have they told you where exactly Kawhi's jersey is going to be hung up in Viejas?
No, I haven't seen it yet. That's beyond my pay grade, so I'm sure they'll find a good place for it. I'll be excited to see it. And like I said, you know, it'd be great to have Coach Fisher and he out there. And we're playing a game, so we won't be much of the part of any of the festivities because we'll have Utah State in here, and I'm sure that will have our full focus. But maybe a day or 2 later when we walk out on practice, we'll take a look at it. But our focus will be on Utah State, and we'll let the fans enjoy one of the greatest Aztecs of all time, and then we'll celebrate another time with him.
Coach, having an old team, as you call it, what are the tangible advantages of having an old team?
Just that they've been through all these experiences. Maybe not being 18-0, but they've been part of winning. They've been part of losing. If they lose, they probably know why they lost, and they don't want to repeat that again. They know the importance of defense, you know, that probably as young kids they come in and they think offense is more important, and probably one of the reasons they were really recruited because they were offensively very good. But they realize that defense is the cornerstone of the program, and they come out every day and they work hard not only to put a game plan in, to follow it, but to know the importance of a good defensive game plan.